Hi, I'm Martine from the Curiosity Theory and Men's Breakthrough. I want to talk to you a little bit about a case study using the Curiosity Theory for conflict resolution in divorce. During divorce, it works for marriage. We just want to kind of give you an idea of how the Curiosity Theory works, so that you can, if you're, let's say, a mediator, a divorce attorney, or if you're a couple that's going through divorce, how you can use a couple of the practices that we use in the Curiosity Theory, and how we some of the practices we use in men's breakthrough, some of the stuff that we teach men how to communicate in men's breakthrough. So basically, the idea is, divorce is challenging. It doesn't matter if you've been divorced for, if you've been married for, 6 months or 20 years. I was married for 25 years before I got a divorce, and I talk to people that have been married for 2 or 3 years, and they go through their struggles as somebody that's dealing with divorce. Divorce isn't easy. Any way you look at it, it's a tough thing to do. So, when couples are fighting, especially when they're arguing, when they're reacting and overreactive, it's really tough to have an amicable divorce. It's just really tough because both parties are bringing a lot of energy. Maybe it's one party that's bringing a lot of energy, but even if one party is bringing a lot of energy, that's creating havoc for the other people that are involved. And attorneys, what they want to do, my understanding is, what they want to do is they want to get someone from point A to point B. So, okay, I want to get a divorce, and then, okay, let's get that filed and approved by the court, get it done, and you're done. Now you're divorced. But um, what happens often is that somebody gets upset. We get triggered. We get upset during the process. Maybe we're trying to separate the house or the furniture or the barbecue or the gifts that we got or the money that we have in our savings accounts and all those other things. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. One couple that I worked with named John and Sarah, and I actually just worked with John, but an attorney actually was a mediator, actually, that was working with John and Sarah, and then referred John to me. But what happened was, they'd been married for about 10 years. They had a couple kids, and they were experiencing some problems in their marriage. And so they decided to look at a divorce. So before going and meeting an attorney, they worked out almost everything except for two things: the property and spousal support. So they were working on how are they going to divide the property, who's going to stay in the property, if they're going to be a payoff, all those things. They were trying to figure that out. And then they were trying to figure out the spousal support, if they were going to have spousal support, how much, and all that. And every time they had a conversation about it, they'd get upset. There'd be a fight. So they'd start out really nice, like most people, and then all of a sudden they would be arguing, and that's just what happens. And for some couples, that happens. So they tried to resolve the issues on their own, but they couldn't do it. So then they decided to get some professional help and hire a mediator, and that's where I got involved with John. So, like I said, they were stuck, frustrated, they were unable to move forward. So they said, let's get a mediator. Let's call the mediator. And during the initial mediator process, the mediator established rapport, because that's what you need to do as a mediator. You need to create a neutral environment so that you can speak to both the husband and the wife, both wife and wife, husband and husband, the couple, if you will, and establish trust and safety and respect, which is one of the things we talk about in Men's Breakthrough in the Curiosity Theory. Like, a cornerstone of any relationship is trust, safety, and respect. Whether you're negotiating, whether you're trying to raise kids, whether you're trying to have a great, successful marriage, those three things are always going to be important. And when you're going through a divorce, guess what? You're going to need those as well in order to have an amicable divorce, in order to have a successful divorce. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting, and you're going to be spending a lot of money on attorney fees and court fees and all that stuff. Now, some people say it's worth it. I don't care. I just want everything, and I want her to be in pain. I want her to know that what she did was wrong, or I want him to know what he did was wrong. And I understand that, and I get that a lot. But in this case, when you have two children that are involved, what I usually say is, at what point, John, are you going to go back and clean up the mess that you made with Sarah? How you hurt her, how you disrespected her, while your children watched you doing this. They watched you. They not only watched you, but guess what? They learned. They learned how to treat a woman. They learned how to treat a wife. They learned how to break up. You've given them an example. Now, hopefully they don't do that. But the truth of the matter is that kids learn from their parents and typically do exactly what their parents did. That's what happens. So after talking to him, after working him just with one coaching call, he said, "Yeah, Martine, I think you're right. I need to be more respectful. I need to be more loving in the relationship and in the divorce, because really I want to raise these kids. I want these kids to respect their mother. I want them to love their mother. I want them to love me. If we get married, if we get boyfriends and girlfriends, we want them to treat each other with respect." Like when you can start to see the possibility of having a positive divorce, you start to see the possibility of, well, the probability, actually the necessity of having to have tools to actually get you there. So what happened is, initially the mediator, before I met the mediator, before I met John, she asked them to read my book, The Curiosity Theory. This is the old book. I don't know if I have the new one out. This is my old book. I have a new cover. She asked them to look at The Curiosity Theory and to read it, and they did. And what happened was, before their second meeting, they had already pretty much worked out all the stuff that they were fighting about. The house, how they were going to work out the house, how they were going to work out child support, and then they even modified their ideas for childcare and the holidays and all that other stuff. That was just out of reading the book. So they came to the next meeting with the mediator, almost like knowing how to communicate. And what happened is the mediator in the first meeting just explained them how important there's certain things that you want to do. And she introduced them to two concepts that I want to talk about, and the tools, if you will. And one of them is curiously investigating, and the other one is honestly expressing. And then I don't talk about them in the book, but you'll get the point. If you want to download the book, you can download it. I'll put a link in this video, and if you want to buy the book, I'll also put that. And if you want to sign one, reach out to me, and I'll put my information to reach out to me. I'll do a signed copy for you. So what she explained to them, because she took my class, she took the Curiosity Theory for Women. She took that class, and which is the same course as Men's Breakthrough. It's just the women's course. And she took the course, and she liked the concept of curiously investigating and honestly expressing. Now, what curiously investigating is to use curiosity as a tool to find out information. So what happens with curiosity, when you're curious, you can't fight when you're being curious. It's really hard. The reason why is because we have basically three brains, but we're going to talk about two of the brains that are in our head. So the first brain is our reptilian brain, which is our oldest brain, which is that brain that has the fight, flight, or freeze. It also manages all of our functions, our breathing, our appetite, all those kinds of things, right? It's our survival brain. And so when somebody threatens your survival, when someone threatens you and you're going through a divorce, guess what? You're going to go into reactive mode. And that reactive mode is where it kicks in the reptilian brain. Now, when you're actually curious, that is the job of the neocortex. So I'm curious, so I want to find out information. So the reactive brain, that reptilian brain, that fight, flight, or freeze, is no longer activated because I'm trying to gather information. Now, the key is you have a little switch called an amygdala that lives inside of your limbic brain, where all the emotions are happening. And so what happens is that little amygdala is like always on alert, like it's like a little switch. And if what you do is you get triggered, because we're constantly getting triggered by life, right? And if you're talking about spousal support and properties, you're definitely going to have some triggers, right? So as you get triggered, it's your job to be able to trigger up. Now, when you're curiously investigating, the trigger goes up and it says, I'm investigating. So if what you do is you use curiosity and you actually are curious, then your mind is shifted out of reptilian mode and constantly shifts you right back into the neocortex, which is the curiously investigating. So as I'm gathering information of what somebody wants, or in this case, John and Sarah are gathering information what they both want, that rather than react, they're simply curiously investigating. Oh, I'm curious. So you want that. Oh, I'm curious. So why is it that you want that? Why? And they're gathering information. Now, the moment you stop being curious and you go into that reptilian mode, that's where the fight starts, right? So the key is to stay curious and not take it personal, even though it is incredibly personal, right? We know it's personal, but taking it personal, taking what somebody else wants personally, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I understand it's what we do. I do it. I'm sure you probably do it. And it's a protection mechanism. So what happens is the amygdala goes, that's personal, and it switches down. It says, fight for your life. And so you start fighting. But your amygdala can easily, with your help, can say, well, I'm curious what that's about, or I'm curious why I'm getting upset, or I'm curious why I'm so adamant about her not getting what I want, what she wants, or me winning, all those different things. So as you start to be curious, you actually start to look at yourself a lot more so than when you're fighting, because when you're fighting, you're not looking at yourself. You're just trying to figure out how to kill somebody, how to win a fight, right? That's all you're doing. And basically, you're not even trying to figure out how to do it. You're just automatically doing it. So the curiously investigating concept allows you to curiously investigate what's happening. And then the honestly expressing component allows you to honestly express what's going on. So it could look like this. I would like to stay in the house for 10 years. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Boom, right? She's because I want to keep the kids here. I want them to go to school. I guess I think it's the most stable way to do that. Now over here, I might be saying, but I want to stay in the house, right? Which then is not being curious and not honestly expressing, but there's a bit of a trigger there. You see, like I want to win. It's like me. And I'm not saying you're not important. I'm just saying, can you stop for a few minutes and separate what's important to you to find out what's important to the other person, right? And let's say the conversation, let's just use that part of the conversation. So what would happen is that's how they would talk. So they read the book. So the mediator gave them the book. They went and read the book. They started communicating better. But during that process of communicating, John hired me as a coach because he's like, hey, listen, this is what Sarah wants, and it really pisses me off. So what we did is we curiously investigated why it pissed him off. And when he shared why it pissed him off, he honestly expressed it to me. You see, he was honestly expressing it to me. So I don't really don't have any, what do they call it, any stake in the game. Whatever happens to them, happens to them. It doesn't affect my life. So I can be pretty neutral. So what I want to do is I want to teach John to be neutral about what Sarah's saying. So what I was doing is I was showing him how I was neutral, taught him how to be neutral, which is one of the things we teach in the program, right? And what I teach in one-on-one coaching, which is how to be neutral, how to listen neutrally versus listen reactively, or even listen for good stuff or bad stuff. Because if we're listening for good stuff, then we're going to gather information for good. If we're listening for bad, we're going to gather for bad. Listening neutral allows us to stay curious. So taught him how to listen neutrally. And so next time he spoke to Sarah about that, he just stayed neutral about it and found out all the reasons. What he found out, what he saw in himself was that he was getting triggered, like he wanted to win. And he said that to her. He said, and is honestly expressing, he said, Sarah, this is what he told me. He said, Sarah, I just want to win. I want to win. And what I've seen is winning is just going to tear us up. And I don't want to tear us up. I don't want to have a bad divorce. I don't want to fight with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to agree to this. And when he agreed to that, she immediately disengaged because she's been reading it too. And she said, how about we do this? So rather than her staying in the house for 10 years, she decided to stay in the house for 5 years. And then they're going to decide what to do. If they're going to sell it, they're going to refinance it if she's going to stay in it, but they'll work that out. So what happened is it was a it's not only win-win, they have 2 kids, right? So it was a win-win-win-win. And the mediator now has an easier job because she now can finish her job and work through the mediation. She can do that. They're showing up ready to work, ready to get it done, ready to work through that. Now the relationship is better than it's ever been. They're telling me what John says is actually, I love her more than I did in the marriage. I'm still going to get a divorce because I think that's what we need to do. But I can see that maybe in the future we get back together again or something. So the thing that happens when you curiously investigate is you stop fighting, you stop arguing, you stop bickering, and you become neutral. And then that gives you the ability to honestly express yourself. And you use the same tools when you honestly express yourself. So what you're doing is you're using curiosity as you're honestly expressing. So as I'm thinking, as I want to say what I want to say, I'm going to honestly express myself and maybe say, I'm a little scared. I'm I'm frustrated, but I'm frustrated. Not like you're frustrating me, that kind of thing. So I'm honestly expressing how it is for me, but not creating any blame, any criticism, or any judgment. Because I say those are the three horsemen. Judgment, blame, or criticism is going to take you into the reptilian brain, because once you start judging, your amygdala is going to switch down and go, that's time to fight. Once you start criticizing, it's your reptilian brain. It's the fight or flight. It's win, win, win. And then once you're blaming somebody, that's also a fight mode, right? So being able to stay out of that mode and stay in a mode we call the progressive cycle versus the regressive cycle. So stay in the progressive cycle in your conversations as you're honestly expressing yourself. So so what I think of when I talk about honestly expressing is, what are the characteristics, what are the fundamentals, what are the ways that I can honestly express myself, and how there. So that's the how to do it, but what supports it are the fundamentals, are my qualities, or my virtues, or my values. So if a quality that I want to have in the relationship, and it's what I did in my divorce, is I wanted to be kind. I wanted to make sure I was kind. So I kept every communication with kindness. I kept it in, when I say kept it with, because as I was expressing myself honestly with Yvette, I was expressing it with kindness as well. So I'm saying, this is what I want. Some of the stuff is tough, but I'm doing it in a way that's kind. And how do I know it's kind? How do I know what's kind? Because I could say, well, I was being kind, right? But the truth is how it lands for the other person. So as you're honestly expressing, you're curiously investigating, how did that sound? How did that sound? Did that sound okay? Was I rough? Well, no, you're actually very nice when you said that, Martine. And that's what the conversations were like. And so what I did is I taught John to not only honestly express himself, not only curiously investigate, but then once he's honestly expressing himself, then to curiously investigate what's going on with himself. Is he talking from his ego? Is he talking from love? Is he talking from the place he wants to communicate from, right? And if he is, awesome. If he's not, then check in and switch switch the amygdala, because you're probably in a reptilian mode, right? You're probably in a regressive cycle. Switch it. Get curious about what's there for you. How do you feel? What is it you need? And then act according to your values. That's the key. That's how that works. The bottom line is, the curiosity theory is a great path to finding common ground and mutually beneficial situations and solutions. And it can happen. It can work in sales. It can work in marriages. It can work in divorce. It can work in being a parent. It can work in all those things. So the outcome, using the curiosity theory for John and Sarah, was they were able to resolve all the conflict, like literally all the conflict that they had around the house and around the spousal support, and then look and see that there was some conflict about some other stuff, right? There were some compromises that were made that they didn't feel that were fair on both sides. So they had the ability, the tools to go back and have conversations about those as well, right? So the outcome was that they were able to communicate better. They reached agreements that was beneficial for not only both of them, but the whole family. And this is the coolest thing, is they felt connected and respected and satisfied. And then what they did is they were able to experience a new level, a higher level of trust and that they ever had in their relationship, and then be able to rekindle some of the connection, some of the love, not being in love, but love, being able to love. There's a difference between being in love, like, oh, I love you. I don't want to marry you. I don't want to stay married to you. I love you. And I feel more of that love for you. Because why not? Why not love the mother of your children? Why not? Why not love her? Why not treat her with respect? Why not treat your kids or teach your kids how to treat mom in a way that supports mom, that helps mom have a great life, that helps mom be a great mom, that helps mom be successful as a mom, and then you then go on and be successful as a father, as an ex-husband. Why not? Why not? Because the alternative is what? You're going to fight. You're going to fight for the rest of your life. And you're going to put your children through your fight and your argument because you want to be right about you. She's a jerk, or she wants to be right about you're a jerk. That's the result. I'm going to tell all my neighbors. I'm going to tell my family and tell everybody how big of a jerk you are because I am right. because I want you to hurt. But it doesn't matter that the kids hurt. It's okay if my kids hurt. Yeah, they'll be fine. No, they won't be fine, guys, girls. They won't be fine. You will hurt your children. So I'm preaching right now, right? So the point is, guys, is the curiosity theory works, the program works, the philosophy works. Read the book, use curiosity, or don't read the book, but try using curiosity. Try using curiosity as a way to get out of the reptilian brain and go into the neocortex by switching that amygdala, right? And I promise you, it's going to make a difference. It'll make a difference in your marriage. It'll make a difference in your divorce. And I'm telling you, a lot of people that I coach, a lot of the men that work with me don't want divorce. They want to stay married. They want to stay married. Look at some of the comments that people made. So great stuff. Watch the rest on replay. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Interesting. Thank you very much. So I'm going to put this one up here. Let me show this one. Great stuff. Watch it on the replay. Got to go. Thank you for your great work. God bless you. Thank you, whoever that is. And somebody else said, interesting. Our core is to be curious. That's true. We're born curious, right? When we're little kids, we touch everything. Like if a little kid was here, he'd be touching the microphone. He'd probably turn off the stream because he'd be hitting the keys on the keyboard, right? Absolutely. So I just came to this decision this weekend and discussed this in language with my therapist. That's really cool. That's really cool. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. You know, I had a therapist as well, and I love therapy. Therapy, don't get me wrong, therapy is really great. What we teach in Men's Breakdown, we teach in the curiosity theory are tools. So what we do is we create tools, because when you're in the thick of the argument, when you're in the thick of the upset, when you're in the thick of the sadness, when you're in the thick of the rage, all those different emotions, what's really, really important is having a tool so you can get out of that. So many people are telling me, they've told me, and I'm guilty for the same thing, is I couldn't work. I couldn't work because I'm so busy dealing with the pain and the upset. So the curiosity theory, Men's Breakdown, what we do is we have a set of tools that allow you to help navigate that stuff, help you navigate through the divorce, and have you navigate your marriage more effectively. Really helps you be a more loving human being, really a better communicator. Because what's the thing that happens in communication? What's the biggest thing that happens in relationships communication? Is that somebody says something to us and we take exception to it. We get offended by it. The curiosity theory allows us to get less offended by that. Yes, most important, respect. Absolutely. I call the three main things: trust, safety, and respect. Respect is really, really great, but if you don't trust the person, you're not going to like the person. You're not going to do it. Let's take the biggest example that we have in our country, in the United States. Let's say Donald Trump. A lot of people, they might respect him as a businessman and say, yeah, the guy knows how to make money, but I don't trust him, or I don't feel safe with him, right? Those are the things. So you need all three. And you can even say that with anybody. If you don't have trust and safety and respect, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Thank you very much. Curiosity is reinventing ourselves. 100%. Curiosity is absolutely reinventing ourselves. Being curious is being able to sit there and look and be able to, that's invention. That's where invention comes from. We have something called the progressive cycle. And I think the fourth step of the progressive cycle, I'm going to look it up right now. This is the old version, is creativity and innovation. Creativity and innovation is the fourth step of the progressive cycle. So when you're curious, it leads you to creativity and innovation. Absolutely. Reinventing is where innovation is. We only listen through our filters. We don't hear what is said. We hear what we feel was said. Oh my God. I wish I knew who this was that was saying this, but 100%. We don't hear what was said. We hear what we feel was said. What we feel was said. And actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show something really quick. I was just gonna get off here really fast, but I'm gonna show something that actually addresses what you're saying here. If I can get this thing to turn on and show you exactly what I think you're saying and what we talk about in Men's Breakthrough and how that works. This is not from the workshop. This is from the workshop. So let me see. Let me go show you this little thing right here. Let me open this up and let me share this. How do I share? Present. Video file, share screen. Let me see if I can work. Where is that window? Okay, this. Okay, share this. Okay, this is called the power to choose. So what I was talking about earlier is the old way is like what the old way of communicating, right? Is we get triggered, we react, and then we regret, right? So something happens, we react to it, and then later we go, oh man, I shouldn't have did that. So in this case, Sarah would say, I want to stay in the house for 10 years. That would trigger him. It would trigger reaction, just like you said, because we hear through the emotion, right? And so then he would react to that because he would be emotionally triggered. And then later on, he'd regret it. Like, why did I fight over that? Why did I fight with her? It's crazy. The new way, let me open this up a little bit more. So the new way is when you get triggered, the trigger's still going to happen, right? Sarah's still going to say, I want to live in the house for 10 years. And what you do is you observe first. You observe what's happening. You observe what she says. So I'm going to observe the facts of what she said. I want to live in the house for 10 years. And then I want to separate the story that I made. The story that I made could be, well, she's taking advantage of me. That could be a story. So when I create a story like that and I connect to my feeling is going to be yuck. My feeling is going to be, oh, she's terrible. She's evil. She wants to take everything. She wants to ruin me. And then more stories, more bad feelings, more trigger, more junk, right? And then the need that we may have, maybe a need maybe I just need to get out and restart rebuilding my life. That need's not happening because I'm now losing my house and she's evil and all. So the stories keep happening. So my needs don't happen. So we're over here on this side where you get triggered, react, and regret. The new way is when you get triggered, you observe the facts and you observe the stories that you're making up. And you connect them to a feeling saying, well, this story only gives me terrible feelings or yum yuck feelings. So it gives me yuck feelings, right? We talk about yum and yuck in the book. And yum is yum is a good feeling, yuck is a bad feeling, right? So if all we have is yum and yuck, then at least yum or yuck tell us that our needs are being met. So yum tells us that my needs are being met. When I have a story that's bad, that's a yuck feeling, and that says that my needs aren't being met. Maybe my need for respect, for trust, for safety is not being met, for appreciation, what could be whatever. There's a lot of needs. We have a whole list of needs that we share in the workshop. So that's what happens. So what happens is I took the facts and I made up a story, and that made me feel rotten. What if I was neutral? If I'm neutral, then I'm just going to look at the facts. She said, I want to stay in the house for 10 years. That's what she said. Okay, that's what she said. Anything else I'm going to make up? Now let me look and see what I want. Well, I want this. Well, why do I want that? Because I want it. And you start to process the things that you want more effectively because you start to process, you start to process your feelings, you start to process your needs. And then what happens is you actually act more in accordance to your values, more in accordance to your virtues, and more accordance to the qualities that you want. So in my case, I said, I wanted to act in my marriage very kind. I wanted to be kind in my marriage. So whatever happened here, I would get triggered. No doubt I would get triggered, right? But then what I would do is I would remember how I want to act is kind. So I would notice the stories that had me feel yuck and the needs that weren't being met. I'd look at the facts and I would say, okay, what story do I need here? What story am I making up here? What do I want to do? And so I would start to act. I would deal with this, but I would deal this on my own, and I would not make Yvette have to deal with it. I would deal with it on my own. And then what I did is I would celebrate every time I did that. Celebration is really important because when you celebrate your wins, then you're going to want to do that again, right? So the old way is you can fight. The new way is you can work it out. It's up to you. Try using the curiosity theory. Let me know what your thoughts are. Try using curiosity. Let me know. So we listen through our filter. So let's go with this one. How come it feels we never arrive, but our journey is one of resiliency? The way I would respond to that is how come? Because life is about growth. That's why life is about growth. And resiliency in the way I look at it. I have a book. Do I have it? Anti-Fragile. There's a book called It's not here. It's in the other room. It's a book called Anti-Fragile. And so when we come to the concept of resiliency, I think of something that Daniel Antigen said. Antigen, I think is her name. She's a professor. It's a book. She wrote a book. Can't remember the name of the book that she wrote right now, but she talked about she uses a term called OMS, OMMS. Obstacles makes me stronger. Obstacles make me stronger. So I'm using the obstacles that I have. I'm using the things that hit me as a way to make myself stronger. That would be the way to do it, because why would I use that to make me weaker? That makes sense, and that's the way most people do it. But so I'm going to get to the answer to your question, the resiliency, right? So I want to be able to be stronger by the things that happen. What near you all, I think, who wrote the book Anti-Fragile, he says, I think that's who wrote the book. He said that there's resiliency, there's resilient, which is I'm strong. Nothing's really going to affect me, but eventually I'm going to break. That's what happens, that right? So that's what you're saying, right? How come it feels we never arrive, but our journey is one of resiliency? So basically, I don't think you're saying this, but I'm gonna say this way, is because if I'm a victim of my having to be resilient, then eventually I'm going to break. Eventually I'm going to fall apart. That's what's going to happen, because I'm going to resent or I'm going to break down. That's that. So the opposite of that is being fragile. So as I'm too fragile, and everything that happens, I get my feelings hurt. I take things wrong. Basically, that's kind of like how that works, right? So that's what he says. But anti-fragile uses the concept of ohms. Obstacles make me stronger. So everything that happens, I use it and I eat it up for energy, because these are the things that make me stronger. So when somebody, case in point, so when John is arguing with Sarah, right, he uses what Sarah is saying to help him become stronger. So what's one of the strongest things that we can have as men? Our ability to listen. I don't want to listen to what Sarah's saying. Great. Listen and you will be stronger. Now remember the heads that I just showed, right? So when you act according to your values, which I want to be a better listener, I'm going to celebrate my listening. So as I celebrate my ability to listen better, right? So as John was celebrating his ability to listen better, he was excited. Like, that's like me. That's a term we use. That's like me. I'm the kind of guy that listens. That's like me. So when you listen better, then you're going to celebrate it. And the next time you have a conversation with Sarah, the next time you have a conversation with your spouse, with your loved one, with your kids, you're going to want to listen more. Why? Because the celebration at the end, the cheese at the end of the tunnel, the icing on the cake is your celebration, is your becoming more of the person you want to be, whether that's a man or a woman, whatever that is, the more of the human being you want to be. If you want to be kind, and you're kind in that conversation versus started a fight, at the end of the conversation, I said, I was kind in that conversation. That's like me. I'm a kind person. And that kindness did not only transfer to my relationship going through my divorce, but I had a girlfriend, and I still have a girlfriend, and I'm more kind with her. So that I'd be like, oh, I'm kind to my soon to be ex-wife. Well, I have a girlfriend, and if I'm kind to her, guess what? I'm going to be kind to my girlfriend. I'm going to be more kind to my kids. I'm going to be kind to my clients. I'm going to be kind to the people that I coach. Not that I'm not kind, but it's a deeper depth. So the journey, the feeling of a journey that we never arrive. Yeah, you're never going to arrive. But what you can do is you can become anti-fragile, and then what happens is you then willing to take it on. And they talk about in the book The Tools. I have all these books here. So Phil Stutz talks about in the Stools, where he says, bring it on, bring it on. One of his number one tools, I can't remember what it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a tool, and I have it written down because I always forget everything. But he has a tool that says, bring it on. I'm going to lean into it. So I can be afraid and step back, which is no problem. Or what I can say, this is something that I don't like. Let me lean into it. Because by running from it, it's not going to improve it. That's a reptilian response. By leaning into it, that's a loving gesture to myself, because that's like me. I'm the kind of guy that leans into it. So the journey will never end. Resiliency isn't a concept, but I just wanted to encourage you to use the concept of anti-fragile versus resiliency. Hope that helps. I definitely get that I don't feel comfortable sharing that with you. Got it. No problem. A lot of people say that at the beginning, and then they coach with me, and then they tell me everything. Because I'll tell you why. Because I do not judge. I do not complain, and I do not blame. Just do those three things. So if what you feel is you don't feel trust, safety, or respect, because that's what it would require in order to share something, you'd have to trust. You'd have to feel safe. You have to respect. Now, you may trust me. You may not be comfortable sharing it on Facebook, right? And I catch some grief about this. Like, it's a funny thing. I had a girlfriend, my girlfriend Paula, when I was 20 years old, 21 years old. I dated this girl named Paula. And she says, well, you shouldn't talk so much about that stuff. You shouldn't talk about your wife. That's really bad. I never say anything bad about Yvette. If I say anything bad, I say something bad about me and my inability, right? So where is that? So I feel comfortable sharing anything. Well, there are probably a few things I wouldn't share, but pretty much mostly everything that I've gone through, everything I said, I will share. Why? Why do I share? Because what I share, I'm told benefits other people. The honesty that I have, the way that I share, the way that I teach, it benefits other people. So I can use myself as an example. I've got to have an example for it. I got to have stories. That's why I use the case study right now. So go back and listen to the case study. It's 36 minutes. I tried to do this in about 15 minutes, but if you know me, I talk a lot. So Martin Lopez, the curiosity theory, men's breakthrough. Thank you very much. I'd love to see who's writing all these comments. Let me look on my phone real quick to see who's commenting, who these comments are, because I don't know. It's not showing up on my screen, and I am not on Facebook. I'm really grateful for whoever's commenting. Thank you. Let me look and see who commented. It's not letting me do it because I'm on. It's not letting me do it because I'm on airplane mode right now. So let me switch off of airplane mode. If you have any questions, please, this is a good time to ask. If you have any questions, any thoughts about any of this content, please type them in the comments and let me know. This is going to be this. I'm going to put this on my blog, and this is also streaming to my YouTube page. So if you want to go back and check it out, that would be cool. Those of you guys that know me, I'm building my coaching practice. So anything you can do to help me with that, most appreciative. It's not even showing. Oh, you know what? Because I didn't put it there. I put it on my other page. Okay, let me see. Where is this? Switched over to here. Let me see who's commenting. Thank you very much for. It's not even showing me the comments. Okay. So whoever's commenting, thank you for commenting. Definitely get that I don't feel comfortable sharing that with you. Cool. But thank you for sharing what you did share. I want to acknowledge you for whatever you did share. Thank you for sharing that. And if you're and I'm good with you not sharing the rest of it. And if you want to have a conversation, please reach out to me. Go to talkwithmartine.com. You can schedule one free complimentary, we call it discovery call, one free coaching call. And see if the way that I coach can make a difference for your life. I coach people in sales. I coach people in customer service. I mostly coach men that are in tough relationships. Those are the bulk of the people that I coach. Men that have gone through a divorce, men that are in the process of divorce, that they want to do it with dignity. And then a lot of men that are in the process of divorce but don't want the divorce. They don't want it. And they try to figure out a way to get back. And then other people that are thinking about getting a divorce. They're in a marriage. Everything's good, right? But they're thinking about possibly divorcing and trying to figure out how to rekindle their love, how to rekindle their relationships. I can tell you countless men that I've worked with that have not gotten divorced or been in a divorce and went back. And some men that I worked with, they were in a divorce and thought that they wanted to get back, and then went through the course and said, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to. This is the best thing for me. It's the best thing for her. This is the best thing for us. So thank you very much. Thank you for the hearts. I love it. I'm trying to see who's here. It doesn't show me who's here. So 3 for men's breakthrough. Curiosity theory curiosity theory. So I'm gonna go look on the men's breakthrough page to see who's on there, because it doesn't show. I should put this little link that you have in order to comment. Jeff Brody, Robert Hidalgo. Jeff, thank you very much. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, absolutely. Curiosity. Yeah, Robert, curiosity is reinventing ourselves. Very, very, very cool. Thank you for all those comments. I love you guys. And I will start streaming more one-on-one. So what I was doing is Men's Breakthrough Hangout was this interview. And what I get is from a lot of people is just say, Martine, just teach your darn theory, teach your theory, teach the progressive cycle, the regressive cycle, consciously curiously investigating, all those different concepts. So what I'll do is every day or every couple of days, I'll jump on and work on a new teaching something new. So thank you guys. God bless.